welcome to my channel, Duck Potatoes World. Today on my sock machine journey, we are going to explore further knitting flat panels on a circular sock machine. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. I can be found on Instagram as Mrs. Duck Potato, on Ravelry as Mrs. Duck Potato, and here on YouTube in Duck Potatoes World. And we are going to have a lot of fun today. So I did a short video about knitting a flat panel on a CSM a few weeks ago, just kind of showing what I was doing. And I had a few people ask about how I got started. So I am going to knit a flat panel piece on my sock machine from start to finish. And the first thing that you'll need to see are the tools that I'll need. So here you can see I have just some leftover random scraps of sock yarn, anywhere from maybe 10 grams to maybe 50 grams that I'm just going to be using up. This piece that I'm knitting is actually going to be sent to Arkansas to Yarn Bomb for Art in the Park in April. I will need all of my heel forks, so the ones that I normally use, as well as the old version that actually came with my machine when I originally ordered it. I will need a soft weight for a little while, and then some scrap yarn, my ravel cord, and a binder clamp. And of course, Lotti, my sock machine. So let's get started. All right, so here I am. I have 17 needles removed from my 72 needle cylinder. I like to knit flat over an odd number of needles. You can see here in a second when we put our setup bonnet in, it works better if I have a ring on my first and my last needle. So when you set up a setup bonnet, you're putting your little rings on every other needle. And it just seems to do better if I have a ring on the first and last. So I like to start off with an odd number of needles. While I'm going around, now is also a good time to make sure all of my latch hooks are open. So we aren't really making anything really fancy today. I'm just making a piece of flat knitting that could be used, or will be used hopefully, in a yarn bomb in Hot Springs, Arkansas for Art in the Park this April. But you could do all kinds of things with flat panels if you wanted to knit them on your circular sock machine. You could seam them together and make blankets or probably sweaters and all. I don't know what, I can't imagine what all. I've seen some various patterns for flat pieces that you could maybe use. I've thought about maybe this summer trying to make a drop shoulder sweater by seaming up flat panels from my sock machine. I haven't decided for sure if I'm going to try it, but I've thought about it. So from here I'm going to go ahead and put my sock weight in and begin cranking back and forth. Now on the first version of this I engaged my heel spring, but my knitting was very tight. So today I'm actually just going to tension the yarn with my hand behind the machine and leave my heel spring off. This is just waste yarn. I find that even though I could probably skip this waste yarn, I just think it's easier to disengage my work from my machine if I use waste yarn and ravel cord. So there we go. I've got several rows of waste yarn. I'll tuck that down in there. And then I'm going to get out some ravel cord. Since I am knitting flat, it really doesn't matter which direction I go. So I could, you know, begin right here if I wanted to where I left off, but I'm actually going to just go this way. It's really not going to matter. I do want to put a little weight on here. And then I can put a little weight on these two. All right, and now I'm ready to begin with my first bit of project yarn. And I just have lots of random, just random bits of yarn left over from other socks that I've made that we're going to be using. get it on strung. I haven't figured out a great way for you guys to see my whole entire sock machine while I work. I think you have a pretty good view inside my cam from this angle. So again, since I'm knitting flat, it doesn't matter which direction I begin. I think I'm going to go this way though, so I can add this end right here. Whoops. I'm going to add that into there, into that weight, and go back this way. So I'm just tensioning it. Oop, you can see my needles didn't rise. My flipper is stuck again. I must need to lubricate this. It shouldn't be sticking that badly, but that's no big deal. I have some Blast. We'll go ahead and spray it and see if that doesn't help things out. Usually I wouldn't recommend spraying your machine while your project is on it, but we're going to today. So there we go. Hopefully that'll take care of that problem. And that's it. It's not difficult at all. We'll be able to go back and forth with the sock weight for a while. Now we got the other side sticking. I can already tell this one's not curling quite as bad as my first flat piece did. To admit, last time I did this, I was already moving to heel forks at this point, but I'm actually not having all that much trouble right now. And I'm wondering if it's because I have such looser tension since my heel spring is not engaged and I'm just manually taking up the slack. Because I haven't lost any stitches, which is great. Oh, but I am running out of yarn. So I'll need to get a new ball of yarn. These are mostly just remnants of from other socks that I've made. I'm just gonna double up the yarn here for a few rows. Get me a little weight. This weight will not need to stay on here. Always got to watch for stuck flippers. All right, well, I'm having no trouble at all using my setup bonnet this time. So maybe when I was having trouble last time, it was a user error. I haven't needed my heel forks yet. Oops, a little bit too far there. To some red. I just want it to be interesting. I think the first one I did, I just kind of randomly did the same color until I ran out and it was kind of boring. So I'm just going to switch colors a little more often to find where I did with my little weight here. So at this point, my weight is hitting the floor and I will need to detach it, and I'll move to heel forks because I don't know of any way to cinch it up using the ring clamp that will work, because I don't have anything to stick it in. So I will just pull out my ravel cord here, theoretically with ease. Oh yeah, that's coming out nice and easy. And detach my bonnet. And now what I have, see if you can see it here, I have this flat piece of knitting coming out of the bottom of my machine. That's the inside of it. Here's the outside of it. It's pretty wide, maybe. Of course it curls because it's stockinette. And from here I will put my heel forks in it. Now I have my newer heel forks are heavier, so I will put my newer heel forks on the edges and in the center. And then I'll put my older heel forks that the weights on those aren't quite as heavy. I'll put those toward in the in between spaces. That's what I did before, and it worked quite well. Just enough to keep everything down and out of the way. It's actually easier to turn with the heel forks than that soft weight in the bonnet, because the soft weight swings like a pendulum and actually makes it kind of hard to turn. This is actually much smoother. Now I would guess switching the kind of weight like that might change the gauge too. Since this is just an art piece, that's not a big deal, but if you were trying to make something that was all the same, that might be a thing to consider. You might want to start with whatever formal weight you plan to continue with. And I'll just move them up as needed. Do that. See, you gotta pay attention because I've got to miss the first needle here. So I'm gonna need to fix that. Make sure it catches. If you drop stitches, especially edge stitches while knitting flat, it is not a good thing. These before they fall. Stick a hook in that one. So that's why you gotta pay attention. Oh good, they didn't fall. Alright, we'll try that again. Oh. Got some fuzzies. I'm gonna need to probably take my cam out and clean everything out after this. I need to move up my heel forks mainly because they're starting to swing like pendulums now too, which is not ideal. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoot them on up. That one's probably a little too close to the first one. I'm gonna scoot that over a little bit more. Be more effective if I scoot it over. Yeah, when anything gets too low, it just starts to swing like a pendulum and makes it harder to crank back and forth. probably ought to move my heel forks up again here pretty quick. Whoopsie. Anyway, it's not hard at all. I need to move my heel forks up again. They're starting to make a lot of noise. Okay, I am starting to get pretty long and I'm going to be hitting the ground soon. So this is what I use the binder clip for, this really big binder clip. I'll just roll up the bottom of my project here and clip it to itself with this binder clip so it doesn't drag on my floor. I have a lot of dogs and there's a lot of dog hair on the floor, so this just keeps it up and off the floor. Fold it over. I just sort of fold it up. Put this big old clip on it like that. It keeps it up. and I am actually going to end this at this point. So I'm just going to reach down and kind of hold on to my heel forks so that when this falls off, they don't all hit the floor, because it'll pop right, oh, well, should pop right off. There we go. All right, so this is the monstrosity that I have removed from my machine. And I grabbed it underneath my machine just like this before I let it fall off. That way all of these weights wouldn't hit the ground and break. And we'll open it up and see what we got. So this whole video is in real time. It took however long you saw me do it. That's how long it took. I'm not going to speed it up or anything. This is why I'm tempted to try out making a sweater, because that's a lot of knitting and not a whole lot of time here. So I have, I don't know, 5 feet maybe? 4 feet maybe of stockinette. Like I said, it rolls really bad, so, oops. But yeah. So I thought if I made a whole bunch of these and seamed them together, I could make a striped jacket of sorts. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever try it or not. It's just been a thought. There are patterns for things you can do with your circular sock machine besides make socks. I have not tried anything. I've made 2 scarves, 2 flat panels, and a million socks. So I think I'd like to spend some more time playing with it and seeing what else I can do with it. I just haven't taken the time to do that yet. Anyway, I hope this answered the question on how I begin a flat panel piece on my sock machine. And if there's any other CSM machine videos you'd like, put it down in the comments and maybe Lotti and I will do it for you. You have a great day. Thank you.